Hello, everyone. This is Animezingly Baka, the amazingly stupid podcast all about anime and movies and TV shows and manga and comics and books and music and so much more. Sans video games, of course. I'm your host, Mark Krishnez. Hi. How are y'all doing? Hopefully, well. Don't have too much out of the norm to talk about this week outside of the usual seasonals I'm watching, and one film series probably I'll touch upon because I was pleasantly surprised by it overall, having watched it for the first time. My big rewatch of my collection is getting there. It's getting there. We've cracked 400. I think I'm at 380 movies left, making very good progress, exhausting progress. However, I think now with adjustments, because I did count up how many foreign language movies I have versus English English speaking movies. And of the 380, we're probably sitting at about 270, 71, 72 that are foreign language. So the ratio is not in my favor in terms of finishing this anytime soon. However, once I do get all the English speaking movies out of the way, it'll open up my time for a lot of other things. But that is where I currently stand with that. And there are movies that have popular English dubs. For instance, all of the Studio Ghibli movies, I've seen all of them in English, a good chunk in Japanese, but not all in Japanese. Well, I might not have seen all of them in English. I don't think I saw The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Is that what it's called? Whichever one, that one, the Isao Takahashi one. I don't think I saw that one in English because it felt like the most of all of them that needed to be watched and listened to in Japanese. But my plan with them, with this rewatch, is to watch all of them in Japanese so that I can, I think, better judge them. Because while the English dubs of them vary depending on the quality of the dub on its own merits and the nature of the movie and how well it feels in English. For instance, I've always been a very big supporter of the English dub of Pompoko specifically because I think the faux documentary style of it lends itself well to English language. I also love that movie. That's probably my most underrated, or what I would call the most underrated of the Studio Ghibli library. I'm also just a fan of Isao Takahashi specifically. If you ask me to pick between him and Miyazaki, I'd probably go with him. I think he's done more interesting stuff and overall things I like more. Whereas with Miyazaki, I feel like I look at a lot of his stuff and I think, oh yeah, these all kind of feel the same-ish. A lot of the big ones, I'm like, oh yeah, Spirited Away, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I say all that with Nausicaa being my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, even though that's technically not. That is just before the creation of the studio. I don't know if it's just all the same people and if it's just a name thing, but that movie, I believe, was created just before the creation naming of Studio Ghibli. 84, I think. So he's even older than me. Even older than me. But that is where I am with that. I can't wait to get it over with. Though there are going to be some difficult. I've got a lot of long moves. I'm getting a lot of the shorter things out of the way now because those are easier to get by. They're easy to throw in here or there where I have extra time or things that I don't need to pay as much attention to, even though some of the longer ones would fall into that just out of sheer number of times I've seen them. But I have all the extended Lord of the Rings, all the, I guess they're extended, right? They have extended Hobbits, which I don't know if I've seen the extended Hobbits or just the theatrical ones. I don't know if I've ever watched those again outside of the theater. But I have all those. I have, trying to think of other long ones. Doctor Sleep, I think, is a pretty long one. I believe the Midsummer Director's Cut is long. Where we got some stuff to go through. Anywho, in terms of the seasonal shows and all that jazz, I still have not caught up with One Piece, so there's no point talking about One Piece. But in terms of the 4, Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, Season 2, Spy Family, Season 3, Gachiakuta, and My Hero, I think this week, at least in terms of those 4 shows that I've been watching, this week has been one of the best weeks for everything in a while. This is a week where I really, really enjoyed every single episode to the point where I would say they're some of the best of the season. And I'm going to start again with Campfire Cooking just because it's kind of easy to get through. But this was the first episode of the season where I was like, man, this was great. Not just because of the vibes. The vibes are always there. But it also had a really strong micro narrative within it where the main character, meets up with these 2 kids who are running from, I think it was an orc that had the 2 teeth. I always think of that now because of Gems of War, a weird reason to do that. But I think they were running from it was like a giant pig, but I think it was an orc. They mentioned it in the show. I just remember it's like, oh, we're gonna sell this and we're gonna make so much money that we'll be able to buy or get a doctor to heal our mother, because that's what the kids are doing. The kids are trying to find some means of healing their mother who has gone ill due to overworking. Their father, well, they don't know if their father passed away, I don't believe, but he's one of the many adventurers and he went off and never came home. I don't believe there's any confirmation that he's dead. He's probably dead, but we don't know that for any certainty. But the kids trying to find some way of healing their mother, and when they're getting chased by the orc and the main character and all the familiars take it down, they want the orc so that they can sell it. But main character, I should know his name. I should just call him main character. It just feels so mean to him. All right, come on, you have to. Makoto? Really? That's your name? Do you have a nickname on the show? Maybe just no one ever calls him by his name, and that's probably why I don't know his name, because no one ever, the familiars don't. I don't think so. Maybe they do. And I just don't ever pay attention. But Makoto, I'm just calling call him make it Makoto. It just doesn't sound natural. I don't like it. Makoto. Oh Christ! But Makoto is thinking to himself, well, they're not going to really be able to do much with this orc because it's a common orc. It's not going to be worth that much. And when he's hearing their whole story about what happened, the father never came home. So they've just been working on their own together, powering through the struggles and all that. Seem to be a very loving family who are all supportive of each other. She just ended up getting exhaustion from overwork, like one does, collapsed and has been ill since. Makoto is trying to think of some way he can help, but his regular healing potions, rare as they may be, won't cover it. Those can't heal those ailments. But Fell lets him know that elixirs can. And if you have rare ingredients, you can create elixirs from that. And that makes him reflect back on when he heard them talking about how rare the ingredients, the blood and whatnot from the dragon, the earth dragon, I think, were. So he gets little old slime to see if they can conjure up some elixir from those ingredients. What a great power to have. You just take in some stuff and you go blah, blah, blah in your slime body, and then you create out these elixirs. And so that happens, manages to make some stuff out of there. And then when they head back to town with the kids, he says, okay, I have this really strong, this elixir will heal your mom. All right. But I can't just give it to you. All right. We have to make a deal on this. This is very valuable stuff. All right. And the kid's like, oh no, I don't know, how am I going to pay for this? And of course, the plan all along, because the orc, if he lets them keep the orc, they're going to find out that that thing is pretty much worthless. It's going to be a real emotional hit to the gut. He says, I'll take this orc from you. Will you? This is the deal I want. And it's just this really sweet moment. And the kid even realizes that, you know, he just did this as a not saving face, but just to not have it be him giving him something for free, to make it transactional, to make it feel like there was that it wasn't just something for nothing, because the world isn't full of handouts. You're not just going to get something when you need it. So very, very sweet moment there. Very, very strong episode. My one drawback, you get a little bit at the end, and I don't remember how much you got of this in the first season, even when it's just maybe a minute's worth of the episode, or less in this case. I don't give a shit about the Gons. Like, fucking boo-hoo, you're not getting your stupid whatever. Your what is the term I'm looking for? They're not getting their stuff, though. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Shut the fuck up. Let us just stay with the people on ground that we like. But yeah, a really, really good episode. Best episode of the season so far, easily, for Campfire Cooking. And that continues on with Spy Family, where we ended last week with the bus all the kids are on getting hijacked. And now this entire episode was about the hijacking. Lloyd's out of commission because he's off doing some undercover work in another country. And then we just get nothing from Yor. She's either doing nothing or off assassinating someone. Maybe she'll come into play in the next episode. I didn't look at the previews. But because of all that, we got, well, Yor's brother did come into play a little bit. But this is a very Anya-centric episode, which, fine by me. And it was just a really, really good episode. My favorite part, and I would assume the favorite part of many for this particular episode, was when Anya and her best friend, the other girl, they're hatching a plan to try and help people find them. Because Anya has her mind reading and all that, her telepathy, she finds out where they're headed. So they write on a note and plan to throw out the window. But then Damien creates a diversion after finding out that's what their plan is, to distract the hijackers. While they do this, they still notice that she threw something out the window. And because of this, they put on this device around her neck that they say will, I think it's supposed to explode, but they keep talking about it like it's going to decapitate her. But I guess a micro explosion there would cause the head to disconnect from the body, potentially. I don't know. But after they put the device on, she's obviously freaked out initially, and so is everyone else. So are all the other students. They're all freaked out. But she overhears the dude who just put it on her saying, well, obviously this isn't a real bomb. We're not that crazy. We're not that mean. But it's not like these kids are going to figure that out. There's just a bunch of stupid kids. They're going to be freaked out by this, and it's going to keep them in check. And when Anya hears this, she immediately settles down, and everyone else, like, well, not everyone else, but her friend and Damien are like, "What's wrong? You're acting very cool for this." And then she just looks over at Damien with her iconic kind of derpy face. It's her mischievous, I'm about to do something real dumb face. I don't even know how to describe it. But she gets her eyes all squinty, her smile wide, and she looks like the most mischievous child possible. She just starts slapping the device. And the others freak out, obviously. It's like, you're going to cause us all to die. And after she hears all of the internal thoughts of all the other students who are freaking out, she kind of gets exhausted from all of that internal noise. But just that image, which is probably what I'm going to use for the thumbnail, of her looking at him with that stupid face, slapping the device, it was comedy gold. It was comedy gold. But really great episode. Really, really great episode of Spy Family. And that continues with My Hero, where while I wasn't, and I still am not the hugest fan of the internal dialogue between the former One for All users inside of Deku's head, him going into Shigaraki's subconscious essentially and dealing with his emotional struggles there, I really liked it. This is a really, really good episode. Very emotional episode. Learning about learning how he came to be, who he became, why he became that, and that it was all for One's doing. It's just, man, All for One really is a horrible, horrible villain. There are no redeeming qualities about him. He is just an awful, awful person who has ruined so many lives firsthand and then put in seeds and manipulated others to ruin their lives into ruining others. It's just, what a fucking piece of shit. What an absolute piece of shit. But it is a heavy episode. Real heavy episode. Real sad episode. It very much so, for me at least, redeems. Not that there's always, I don't know, because he's been so bad this season. It's just this last bit. But there's always been that gray part of Shigaraki where it's like, are you truly, truly evil? Th- This is just cementation. Are any of those words? Cementing of All for One as the big bad of the whole thing. But through this whole process of revealing and learning that it was All for One who took this power he had from someone else, what is it called? The destruction part, the thing that he has that I think it's decay, right? But that he took this power decay and he broke it in a way so that all it could do is destroy. You couldn't reverse the decay. And then he put it into young Shigaraki so that it was the seed that would grow into what we have today. Fucking maniacal, awful, awful shit right there. And that breaks Shigaraki's brain to the point where All For One put his being into his body, and he just needed to get Shigaraki to the point where he was mentally weak enough that All For One could take over and claim the body for his own. His whole plan all along. And when Deku was trying to heal, I guess, for lack of a better word, Shigaraki put their hands together. His hands decayed, Deku's hands decayed, and broke off at around probably the bicep. And I thought, okay, this is all just happening in his head. But in reality, Deku's fine. No, when we get back to reality, Deku is on the ground, bloody stump hands, and he doesn't have his forearms and his hands anymore. Like, oh shit. That's graphic. That's a lot. And when you see, after All For One's taken over Shigaraki's body, Deku trying to prop himself back up, but unable to do so because he doesn't have his hands to support him. So he's just kind of trying to do it with his stumps. That's a hard image. That's not pleasant to watch at all. So that was rough. But in that moment, as rough as that was, and as unpleasant as it was to watch that, I was never worried that that was how it's going to remain because, and it probably makes sense for them to hint to it last week and not just have it come out of the blue unless you specifically remember the character. Like, oh, of course it's going to happen. And maybe even without the hint, I would have thought of that too. But seeing that little girl who can reverse time individually, however her power works again, to whatever extent it is, seeing her last week made it clear this week, oh, he's going to be fine. She's going to do her thing and he's going to get his arms back. And you basically have this episode ending with Deku getting his arms back because the what's this dude? The guy who can negate people's powers. He takes, I think it's him specifically, who has the horn that she broke off. She broke off one of her horns, and that can reverse 5 minutes, and that's enough time for him to get his arms back. And you end it with this kind of Avengers Endgame, Avengers Assemble moment where you have a bunch of heroes coming in to help Deku. So, really strong emotional episode, really strong finish, getting you pumped for the end or for next week's episode. Yeah, really, really good. And then with Gachiakuta, we had a reveal of what the actual plan is by this leader of the Raiders. And you find out that this whole time they've been inside a giant trash beast. And the way they are fueling this trash beast is through the Watchmen series items and also things that the one dude has created to kind of give that power, but not exactly in that. And the Watchmen series are the boots of Amo, and then Rudo's gloves, and the leader's jacket, coat. And there might be more out there, but they're very old, vital instruments, much more powerful, limitless power, apparently. And the plan is to fuel this trash beast and have it fly back up to the sphere. The weird thing about this episode is that the first half and change is very serious because they're just talking about, it's just really Rudo and the Raider leader and the fucking teleporter character who's not just standing there, never says anything, just standing there being supportive, I guess. But it's a lot of story exposition dumping. Not a lot is happening, and it's also very, very serious. It's all very serious in tone. We get a few close-ups of Rudo's face as we do. The leader is impressed that Rudo still has his sanity despite having one of these very, very powerful vital instruments for so long, and finds it very curious how he, being someone from the sphere, could have had one of these vital instruments and not know about it. Like, oh, isn't that interesting? You had one of these incredibly powerful, very long existing vital instruments, part of the Watchmen series, and you had no idea where it came from or what it was. What did that surrogate father guy actually know? Who was just a good dude as well. I hope it doesn't come out that he was actually a piece of crap in some way. But he's a good dude. Just being reminded of how good of a dude he was. But after about maybe 50 minutes into the episode, we go back to all the other characters and it becomes a lot funnier. You get a lot of, when they all realize that they're in a trash piece. There's a moment of silence for maybe 2-3 seconds, and then they'll go, and that's amusing. The whole stuff with Engine and his combatant it's just so ridiculous. This character who is unable to fight unless he's hit first, and Engine is not going to help him at all. And you just see Engine's face at one point. He's just like, oh my God, can I stop? Can this dude just leave me alone? I'm not going to humor him. Stop following me. You're so annoying. And I feel that very much so. And it all transitions when it goes from serious to silly when the kaiju girl pops out after finding out they're inside a trash piece. And she gets so excited because you realize that all of these cleaners, what motivates them is taking out trash piece. So when they find out they're in a trash piece, they're all suddenly very motivated. They have a goal. They have an objective. It is to destroy this trash piece they're in. And it ends on returning to the gangbanger dude look-alike thing and his little kid with the pacifier. They get their vital instruments going. His is his little bandana thing. He wraps it around the kid and throws him at the wall. And it just starts, it feels like it's going to be this great impact. Then it just starts punching it very softly. But as he continues punching it, you realize that it's funny because the old dude who's there with them is just like, man, dude, you need to show this kid reality. You can't just be like, oh yeah, good going. Like, because he's seemingly not doing any damage to the wall. But you realize, and it comes out that his power is that the more he hits something, the more power he drains from it and the stronger he gets. So as he continues hitting the wall, he's doing more and more damage. And it ends on him about to hit it and punch it. Big power move to be continued. So really, really good episode there as well. Get a nice bit of story exposition to start it off for a good chunk of the episode. And then we end with some more lighthearted playfulness that is always enjoyable. So yeah. Really strong episode or week for anime. And then, you know what? I'm just tired. I'm going to end it there instead of touching upon the series. The series I was going to touch upon, I'll be very quick with it. Tiger Cage 1, 2, and 3. First two movies, fantastic. The first movie is a much more serious cop thriller with great action in it. Then the second movie changes up the tone and is more of a action comedy. It is also funny too because I didn't know anything about them. The movies are just tied with their name, but story-wise, character-wise, there's no carryover between the three. So as I was watching the first movie, knowing who was on the cover of the second movie, when that character died, it's like, oh, so these movies are all completely unrelated. Cool, that's good to know. But the second one is an action comedy, and the thing about it is that, well, one, the action plentiful and also very, very good, starring Donnie Yen. Two, the comedy, the humor is actually decent. And when I say it's decent, what I mean is it's actually funny. And that's a rarity I find with a lot of Asian cinema, martial arts movies, a lot of Shaw Brothers stuff, and early Jackie Chan, and just a lot of stuff in general, more modern things too. The comedy is usually not that good. And I'm probably coming at I would assume that it's less of a it's not that good thing, and it's just more of a cultural difference where this particular style of humor isn't funny for me and a lot of Westerners. But if you ask a lot of Japanese people who grew up there in the culture, that is something they find funny. Just in the way that there are certain people, not every American is going to jive with British humor and vice versa, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure it's more of a cultural difference than it's just inherently universally not funny. No, I just don't think it's funny. A lot of Westerners don't. It doesn't work for, but yeah. But this one, Tiger Cage 2, it's good humor. It's good humor. Great action. Unsurprising when you have Donnie Yen. Very young Donnie Yen. But the third movie, another new story, new characters, and it has less action. When it does have its action, it's still very, very good. But the story and the characters, for the most part, didn't interest me. So I wasn't as into that one. Still enjoyable enough, but I think Tiger Cage 1 and 2 are legitimately great. I gave both of them 4 stars, and I think I gave Tiger Cage 3 2.5 or 3. Still good enough, but just and I think I gave it 2.5, and I said this in my review. I don't know if under another name I would have rated it higher. It only would have bumped it up from a 2.5 to a 3-star. But I do wonder if coming off of the high of Tiger Cage 1 and 2 and all of that, if that affected my score a bit, because it had to live up to 2 previous great movies, even though there's no story relation, character relation, etc. The fact that it's still part of this series, I am comparing it to them, and it just cannot live up to those movies, which I would recommend to anyone who loves action movies. They're very, very, very good. So yeah, I guess I gave them a bit more time than I said I was. Anywho, that is going to do it for this here episode of Animezingly Baka. Once again, I am Mark Krishnez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to the Sausage Dump, where I talk about this, that, and whatever, a private Discord channel, and some fancy Discord roles depending on your tier, of course. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci.